Hi, I'm Beverly Harzog, host of Your Personal Economy. You can't control what goes on in the world in terms of inflation or even the price of groceries, but you can control your own personal economy. And I'm going to show you just how to do that because the way you spend your money is the way you spend your life. And I want you to have the best life possible. Thank you for joining me for episode number 16 Financial Anxiety, What Causes It, and What to Do About It. In this episode, I'm going to talk about why so many of us are concerned and worried about what's going on in the economy today. And I think you might be surprised by some of the things I'm going to say about average credit card debt, average mortgages for houses, and other stats that you see in the news all the time. By the end of this episode, you might even feel better about what's going on, or at least about your own personal situation, and you'll have some ideas of what you should do to make things better. All right, let's get started. Harris and The Guardian published the results of a poll that they took where they asked Americans if the US was in a recession. They were flabbergasted, shocked to find out that 56% of Americans believe the US is in a recession. Technically, we're not because a recession is sort of defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative gross domestic product, that GDP. And we don't actually have that, although the first quarter of this year, the GDP was way down compared to the third quarter of last year. But these reports and all of the indignation that happened afterwards because the mainstream media just went bonkers over making sure Americans knew they were completely wrong about this. But what they are missing is the whole point, which is it does not matter if the US is technically in a recession or not. Okay. All that matters is how Americans feel about their own personal economies. And because of inflation over the past several years, prices are high, and when prices go up, it's cumulative, so it stays high. So whether there's technically a recession or not, I think it was just very kind of offensive, really, to try to tell Americans they don't know what they're talking about. That's just gaslighting at its finest. And we've seen that a lot. I talk about this in episode number 9, The Truth About the Economy. And there was this old movie that I used to love. I used to love old movies. And this is from 1944, and it's Charles Boyer and Ingrid Bergman. A lot of you probably don't know who I'm talking about. But if you ever have some time to kill and you want to watch a really well done old movie, it's called Gaslight. That means that you sort of manipulate someone into thinking that their reality isn't what they think it is. It's like you think you know what the facts are, but it undermines your confidence in yourself and your ability to see things clearly. And, I've mentioned before, it's an election year, and this is the type of thing we're going to see. Now, the reason I don't like all of these stats thrown out there and these headlines telling you, no, you don't know what you're talking about, is because it adds to financial anxiety. And financial anxiety means you worry about your current state of your own economy. You worry about your income. You worry about your job. You worry about the future. What's life going to be like in 5 years, if prices are so high right now? And I think when they throw out a lot of averages, like average credit card debt or average rent in major cities, it could make you more stressed. I saw a report last week from CNBC that talked about the average rent in some major cities, the income that you would need to live there comfortably. And by comfortably, they mean your income should be around 30% of what that rent is. Now, in New York City, of course, you expect this to be high. The average rent is $4,122, and the income needed is over $164,000. And, I'm not sure that's even enough in New York City if you have children. If you're single and have limited debt, maybe you could make that happen, if you can compromise on your living arrangements. So I checked Long Island, New York, to see, if you go a little bit further out, if that helps, and it does. Average rent, $2,521, and you need an income of just under 101,000. Seattle, let's check across the US and see how things are over there. Rent 2,240, and you need just under 90,000 to live comfortably there. Now, the problem with this is because we're all different in preferences, where we like to live, how much space we need, how close to the city we need to be. Do we have kids or not? Kids are more expensive. A lot of joy comes with children, but it does add to your expenses, and you have to consider that when you pick an area to live in. So there are all of these factors that have to come into play, and the average really just isn't all that relevant. Okay. It really isn't at all. And when you think about the average credit card debt, now I read this thing that the Federal Reserve puts out every month, and it's called the G19 report. And that tells me the amount of consumer revolving debt that's out there. And it's over $1 trillion. And that's, mostly credit card debt. And right now, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York has said that the average credit card debt is $7,951. Now, that's a lot of credit card debt because it's compound interest. So keep in mind that your balance is continuously growing. So imagine if you had almost $8,000 in credit card debt, how stressful that would be. It would be very, very anxiety producing situation. And I understand that. I've been in credit card debt before, many, many years ago, thank goodness. But the average credit card debt also is a little misleading. There are going to be some in an average, and remember, this only represents the whole average of people. There will be some, way up in $15,000 to $20,000, and there will be some that are like $500 in debt. Plus, with these cumulative totals that we see, like over the $1 trillion, I know you've heard that number before, that includes people that also pay off their balance every month. This is a snapshot in time, okay? And yes, they do have a cutoff. They look at it, but everyone has different due dates on their credit cards, and many use rewards cards for the benefits and then pay them in full by the due date. They don't carry balance. And that's what I do. If I could not do it that way, and I'm telling you right now, if you ever carry a balance on a credit card, I don't want you to use credit cards. Figure out why you're carrying a balance, and until you can do that, stop using credit cards. It's a management tool, which I support, but only if used responsibly. A thing about averages is don't let that scare you or make you think that you can't afford a house in a specific area. Sometimes you just have to go a little bit further out. You can see the averages for the type of job you have. Different companies are going to pay different various levels in different areas of the country. Geography means a lot. When I was looking at all of these reports, I was thinking about last year at US News. I was the media spokesperson for Best Places to Retire. That was really eye-opening because it made me realize how the cost of living, taxes, job prospects, everything is different in each little pocket of the communities in the United States. It's a huge difference from one community to the next, and sometimes within the same state. Okay, so think about that. Don't get too caught up in all of these averages. That'll just stress you out. And if you are stressed out, if you do have financial anxiety, you are not alone. And this is something I've written about quite a bit, and I have some tips for you. And next, we're going to talk about what you can do to kind of ease that anxiety. And I think by the end of this episode, you're going to feel a whole lot better. When it comes to dealing with financial anxiety, some of the stuff we just talked about is going to be helpful. Now, sometimes the news media can make you even more anxious than what you already are. And now that you know how averages are used and how irrelevant it is so much of the time, maybe that will help you to see the news a little more objectively. And this leads to financial literacy. Okay, the more you know about personal finance and how the economy works, the better you'll be at start really understanding what's worthy of your energy and what isn't. Okay. And one of the things I want you to do now is try to articulate exactly what it is that's causing you the most anxiety. This is going to be different for everyone. Okay. So, I mean, is it job related? Is it related to credit card debt? Are you having trouble covering your student loans? Are you having trouble paying bills in general to the point where you need to either get a side hustle or increase your current salary somehow? Or maybe even get a new job. I've done that one before. There are always solutions. Some of them are just a few steps to take to ease the pain right now. And some of it is a more long term solution. Obviously, you can't go out and find a job right away unless you're really lucky and in demand. But you can take steps like with credit card debt. All right, you can decide what strategy you're going to use, even if you can't implement it right this second. Okay, if you decide, okay, with my debt and the way I like to approach things, I'm going to use the debt avalanche method, which is starting with the highest APR, working yourself down to the lowest APR credit card. That way you save the most money. Or maybe you've got a great credit score and you think, okay, well, I can use a balance transfer credit card to get out of debt. So start making plans. Okay. Once you have a solution in place, that's going to take a lot of pressure off right there. If it's a situation where you're worried about, unexpected expenses, let's beef up that emergency fund. Okay, see how this is all connected. Identify the main source of your stress, and it could be several. Okay, so try to prioritize it. What's worrying you the most at the moment, and then what's worrying you second most. Okay, and then you can start to come up with a solution to alleviate that stress and work towards a long-term solution where you're not stressed out at all. You've got a big emergency fund and you're not worried about unexpected expenses. So think about it that way so that it's more solution oriented. And here are some other tips as well. I want you to do whatever it takes to maintain your mental health during this time. That could be listening to music, going for long walks, playing racquetball, playing tennis, playing pickleball, whatever it takes for you to feel better. If you're concerned about your health, please see a doctor before you start any sort of an exercise program. Okay. I am not a physical health expert. I'm just telling you what has worked for me in the past, and exercise has always helped me. Back in the days when I had tons of debt, I had a very expensive health club membership. It was ridiculous. It was a prestige thing, I admit it. I downsized that and started going to a local gym and got a great workout that way, saved a ton of money too. Right now, my exercise is free. There's a park, it's a greenway, the boardwalk through the woods near my house. I'm so fortunate I've got that's free. I can just go over there and walk a couple of miles. I also have an exercise room in my house where, I've accumulated equipment over the years. I didn't just sit down and put all this stuff down there. That took time. It did. And now it's paying off for me. I don't have to go anywhere or pay anything to work out. Do something that helps you deal with the stress, because when you're stressed, whether it's due to financial anxiety, job stress, family stress, or medical illness, whatever you're going through, it can manifest itself in physical symptoms like headaches, stomach issues, movement, okay, yoga. If nothing else, I've been doing yoga for like 25 years, and it's one of the best things I do for myself. And you don't have to work up a sweat to do it. There is power yoga. You can get as intense as you want. For me, I use it after a workout to just stretch and relax and breathe. Let's say you feel that things are just out of hand. You don't know what to do. A short-term solution just isn't there for you. Okay, you're drowning. Contact the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. That's nfcc.org. That can help you a great deal. You'll get a free phone call and you'll get to discuss what your issues are, your budget. So have your numbers ready before you make this phone call, before you contact them. And you'll get some ideas of what you should do next. It could involve working with them further, or it could involve just refinancing your car loan. You never know. Don't hesitate to reach out for help. Really, you don't have to go through this alone. I don't want you to go through this alone. Too often, we think, oh man, this is embarrassing. I can't discuss this with anybody, but you're not alone. Many people feel financial stress right now. 62% are living paycheck to paycheck. There is no shame in reaching out for help. Keep that in mind. Thanks so much for joining me for episode number 16, Financial Anxiety, What Causes It and What to Do About It. I hope that after you implement a few of my suggestions that you start to feel better. I really think you will. Sometimes just getting into action makes all the difference. Coming up next, episode number 17, I'm going to talk about negotiating with credit card issuers, from asking for a lower interest rate to increasing your credit limit to even trying to lower your minimum payment because you're having problems. We're going to talk about all of it. As a consumer, you have more power than you know, and I'm going to show you how to wield that power. And if you're enjoying my podcast, please consider subscribing. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much for joining me.